Shrimad's Divine Grace, founder of ISKCON, Abhay Charanavinda Bhaktivedanta Swami, Srila Prabhupada ki, Grantaraj Shrimadbhagavatam ki, their most merciful Lordship, Shri Kunja Bihari ki, Shri Jagannath Shri Baladeva Subhadra ki, Shri Nataji Shri Balagopal ki, Shri Gornitai ki, Nitai Go Premanand. All glories to the assembled. All glories to the assembled. All glories to the assembly. All glories to the Lotus feet of Shri Guru and Shri Gauranga. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Jayamudhiraya Nasta Prayashu Bhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttama Shloke Bhaktir Bhagavati Naishtaki. Reading from Shrimadbhagavatam, Canto 1, Chapter 7, Text 8. Today is Text 8. Samitam Bhagavatim Sasamitam Bhagavatim Kritvanukramya Chatma Jam Kritvanukramya Chatmajam Sukam Adhyapayam Asha Sukam Adhyapayam Asha Nivritti Niratam Muni Nivritti Niratam Muni Sasamhitam Bhagavatam.
Sasamhitam Bhagavatam.
Samsahitam Bhagavatim.
Sasamhitam Bhagavatim.
Samsahitam Bhagavatim.
Sasamhitam Bhagavatim.
Kritvanukramya Chatmajam.
Kritvanukramya Chatmajam.
Kritvanukramya Chatmajam.
Kritvanukramya Chatmajam.
Sukamadhyapayan Asha.
Sukamadhyapayamasa.
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 Nivritti Nirtam Muni.
Nivritti Niratam Muni.
Nivritti Nirtam Muni.
Nivritti Niratam Muni.
Please chant.
Sasamhitam Bhagavatim.
Sasamhitam Bhagavatim.
Kritvanukramya Chatmajam.
Kritvanukramya Chatmajam.
Sukamadhyapayamasa.
Sukamadhyapayamasa.
Nivritti Niratam Muni.
Nivritti Nirtam Muni. Sa that. Let me change glasses here. It seems to be moving along. Samhitam,
Samhitam.
Vedic literature.
Vedic literature.
Bhagavatim,
Bhagavatim.
in relation with the personality of Godhead.
In relation with personality of Godhead.
Kritva,
Kritva.
having done.
Having done.
Anukramya,
Anukramya.
by correction and repetition.
By correction and repetition.
Cha,
Cha.
and
And
Atmajam,
Atmajam.
his own son.
His own son.
Stukam,
Shukam.
Sukadeva Goswami.
Shukadeva Goswami.
Adyapayam, Asa,
Adhyapayamasa.
taught.
Tat.
Nivritti,
Nivritti.
path of self-realization.
Path of self-realization.
Niritam,
Niratam.
engaged.
Engaged.
Muni,
Muni.
the sage.
The sage.
Sasamitam Bhagavatim Kritvanukramya Chatmajam Sukamadhyapayamasa Nivritti Nirtam Muni. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace of Charanavinda Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. The great sage Vyasadeva, after compiling the Shrimadbhagavatam and revising it, taught it to his own son, Sri Sukadeva Goswami, who was already engaged in self-realization. Please repeat. The great sage Vyasadeva,
The great sage Vyasadeva,
after compiling the Shrimadbhagavatam
after compiling the Shrimadbhagavatam
and revising it, taught it to his own son, Sri Sukadeva Goswami, who was already engaged in self-realization. The great sage Vyasadeva, after compiling the Shrimadbhagavatam and revising it, taught it to his own son, Sri Sukadeva Goswami, who was already engaged in self-realization. Purport by His Divine Grace, Abhay Charanavinda Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Srimad Bhagavatam is the natural commentation on the Brahma Sutras, compiled by the same author. This Brahma Sutra, or Vedanta Sutra, is meant for those who are already engaged in self-realization. Srimad Bhagavatam is so made that one becomes at once engaged in the path of self-realization simply by hearing the topics. Although it is especially meant for the Paramahamsas, or those who are totally engaged in self-realization, it works into the depths of the hearts of those who may be worldly men. Worldly men are all engaged in sense gratification, But even such men will find in this Vedic literature a remedial measure for their material diseases. Sukadeva Goswami was a liberated soul from the very beginning of his birth, and his father taught him Shrimadbhagavatam. Amongst mundane scholars, there is some diversity of opinion as to the date of compilation of Shrimadbhagavatam. It is, however, certain from the text of the Bhagavatam that it was compiled before the disappearance of King Parikshit and after the departure of Lord Krishna. When Maharaj Parikshit was ruling the world as the king of Bharatvarsh, he chastised the personality of Kali. According to revealed scriptures and astrological calculation, the age of Kali is in its 5,000th year. Therefore, Shrimadbhagavatam was compiled not less than 5,000 years ago. Mahabharata was compiled before Shrimadbhagavatam, and the Puranas were compiled before Mahabharata. That is an estimation of the date of compilation of the different Vedic literatures. The synopsis of Shrimadbhagavatam was given before the detailed description under instruction of Narad. Shrimadbhagavatam is the science for following the path of Nivritti Marg. The path of Nivritti Marg was condemned by Narad. The path is the natural inclination of all conditioned soul. The theme of Shrimadbhagavatam is the cure of the materialistic disease of the human being, or stopping completely the pangs of material existence. Om Jnana Timirandasya Kiranjana Shalakaya Chakshusum Militam Jena Tasmai Shri Gunave Namaha. The path in the Vritti Marg. Not this, not this. So, this is what renunciation, Krishna also talks about in the Bhagavad Gita, that souls, out of their natural inclination towards wanting to know the truth and wanting to know God, the absolute power behind everything, they take it to themselves that austerity is the path that pleases the powers that give knowledge, and like that. So from one sense, there is a removal of one from, while engaged in the Vritti Marg, there's a removal from sense gratification. But without the replacement, there's a lack of satisfaction on the part of the soul, longing to know itself. And the nature of itself is that it's made of bliss. So to force itself to suffer is somewhat of a paradox, right? Is that opening or closing? That's opening. Gotta watch and you can't even tell the time when it's weird. So there has to be, see, this is how Srila Prabhupada's giving to the West with the mercy that he gave, introduced a form of Krishna consciousness, not watered down, but so that we could understand Jai Shri Jai Jagannath, Jai Baladev, Jai Shri Gunakai. Within our own capabilities, enough of the philosophy to be able to apply it in such a way that Krishna might be pleased. Well, that was Srila Prabhupada's installing of their lordship, Shri Radha and Jabihari here, was their coming and their remaining here to this day was by request of Krishna. And so without that request of one, as instructed in the Nectar of Instruction, which I think it's healthy to go through often, a sober person who can tolerate the urge to speak, the mind's demand, the actions of anger, and the urges of the tongue, belly, and genitals is qualified to make disciples all over the world. Now, yesterday we got into verse 2, and then we went on to verse 8. So I'm going to, let's see. Text 2. One's devotional service is spoiled when he becomes too entangled in the following 6 activities: eating more than necessary or collecting more funds than required, over-endeavoring for mundane things that are very difficult to obtain, talking unnecessarily about mundane subject matters, practicing the scriptural rules and regulations only for the sake of following them and not for the sake of spiritual advancement, or rejecting the rules and regulations of the scriptures and working independently or whimsically. Associating with worldly-minded persons who are not interested in Krishna consciousness. And 6, being greedy for mundane achievements. All these, as we participate in Krishna consciousness, we can see how the daily activities that we take part in keep us free from moving into the fulfillment of these desires. There are 6 principles favorable to the execution of pure devotional service: being enthusiastic, endeavoring with confidence, being patient, acting according to regulative principles, such as Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu Smaranam, hearing, chanting, and remembering Krishna, abandoning the association of non-devotees, and 6, following in the footsteps of the previous acharyas. These 6 principles undoubtedly assure the complete success of pure devotional service. Wow. That is amazing when you really realize what it is saying. The process is giving us pure devotional service. Krishna, offering gifts in charity, accepting charitable gifts, revealing one's mind in confidence, inquiring confidentially, accepting prasad and offering prasad are the 6 symptoms of love shared by one devotee and another, like we do from a day-to-day, don't we? On a day-to-day basis, just part of Krishna consciousness that happens normally. Now, if you're a karmi, living on your own, having a job, this would be hard to feel. How could you, right? It would be hard to apply this. And I hope we never get away from offering the shelter that ISKCON is supposed to provide. One should mentally honor the devotee who chants the holy name of Lord Krishna. One should offer humble obeisances to the devotees who has undergone spiritual initiation, diksha, and is engaged in worshiping the deity. And one should associate with and faithfully serve that pure devotee who is advanced in undeviated devotional service and whose heart is completely devoid of the propensity to criticize others. That's what we aspire to come to the platform of. But there's a difference between criticism when one is put in a position let's say you're a Sankirtan leader, right? Then while you're on Sankirtan, then their devotees might have to be corrected. I mean, one devotee might be jumping in before the time or whatever. So it's not criticism for the leader to give instructions to someone so that the whole group becomes better. But criticism is unnecessary nag about things that don't amount to an entail anyway. So people will say, for no reason. I don't like this thing, I don't like that person, I don't like that thing, I don't like this or that. And so this is we are full of bubbles, foam, and mud. The Ganges waters do not become polluted. Those who are advanced in spiritual understanding will bathe in the Ganges without considering the condition of the water. You know, we used to find out when we went out and preached, we would invite everybody. Because we know we were there for a short period of time, we had everybody we could come in contact with. It was important enough for us to try and feel obliged to try and get everybody, right? So doing that, you attract a lot of people. So at the Sunday feast, you would get people from varied backgrounds. Some people would come here, they were very liberal people, sex every day, and this kind of nonsense in their mind. And you get people that come here very conservative and looking for, things here. Well, what we did come to find is that some peculiarities in the citizenry, you might say, came to manifest in that people who we were considering to be the lowest among society, who were eating meat, not caring whatsoever what they eat at all, when they came to the temple, they'd immediately take what was being served and speak wonderfully of the food they were going to, before they even took part of it. But you can hear people coming with, they have, I am a vegan. I'm a vegan. So I can't eat certain things. I can't eat. Does this have milk? Does this have milk? Does that have milk? Does this have sugar? Does this have that? Does that? So in effect, what we are seeing, the people that should, the vegans, it would seem, because their own consciousness opens their mind up. Their consciousness becomes pure by being vegetarians. Not to say that they're not. But there's more to one's consciousness towards prasadam than meets the eye. Because the way food is for the soul, it should be as we are having revealed to us through our practices, like honoring prasadam. We don't, if we're in the proper consciousness, we're not taking prasadam out of some feeling that I put this on the table, I'm responsible for this is all my doing. But not only that, in the preparatory prayer we have, the Lord Chaitanya gave us, it puts us in the consciousness to realize that what is being put before us is a form of one of the greatest forms of mercy that this human body is able to experience. And if the consciousness is able to concentrate its energies, that's what this sexual impulse is. It is the concentration of the mind upon a particular organ to try and satisfy that organ. So the taking of prasadam, in realizing that the taking of this prasadam is satisfying to Krishna, then the mind concentrates while it's taking this prasadam it has put itself realizing that because these bodies are so subject to make mistakes and they're always craving things and the soul is always creating desires for things, that this prasadam has a means of totally satisfying the soul that approaches it in the proper consciousness. So, we may ask people to come to a free feast that puts in their mind, oh boy, something to eat, right away. But Krishna can use the lusty desires a person has for things in this world to attract him the same way he does with prasadam. Prasadam is one of those things. Then all of our activities as well. This dance, the clothing we wear, the dancing we do, the conversations we have, all these activities are meant to attract other souls to the same kind of life that we're taking part in. Text 7. The holy name, character, pastimes, and activities of Krishna are all transcendentally sweet, like sugar candy, although the tongue of one afflicted by the jaundice of avidya, ignorance, cannot taste anything sweet. It is wonderful that simply by carefully chanting these sweet names every day, a natural relish awakens within one's tongue, and one's disease is gradually destroyed at the root. Then, text 8, which we read yesterday, the essence of all advice is that one should utilize one's full time, 24 hours a day, in nicely chanting and remembering the Lord's divine name, transcendental form, qualities, and eternal pastimes, thereby gradually engaging one's tongue and mind. In this way, one should reside in Vraja Goloka Vrindavan. In this way. Not saying you have to buy a ticket to get there.
Right.
You don't have to board the India Air to get there. Right. It is the consciousness that we are sharing with each other that keeps us in that mood of the Brajbasis of Vrindavan, that they want to be with Krishna all the time. In this way, one should reside in Brajagaloka Vrindavan Dham and serve Krishna under the guidance of devotees. One should follow in the footsteps of the Lord's beloved devotees who are deeply attached to his devotional service. Text 9.
So it's mindset.
The consciousness.
I mean, heart set, not mind.
Yeah. Well, it's both, because when the heart is right with Krishna, then the mind is put into proper place as well. Right? Both work mutually. Well, our mind is our friend then. The holy place, known as Mathura, is spiritually superior to Vaikuntha, the transcendental world, because the Lord appeared there. Superior to Mathura, Puri, is the transcendental forest of Vrindavan, because of Krishna's Rasa Leela pastimes, and superior to the forest of Vrindavan is Govardhan Hill, for it was raised by the divine hand of Sri Krishna and was the site of his various loving pastimes, and above all, the super excellent Sri Radhakund stands supreme, for it is overflooded with the ambrosial nectarian prema of the Lord of Gokula. This is Srimati Radharani's love for Krishna. In this Kund, Sri Krishna, where then is that intelligent person who is unwilling to serve this divine Radhakund, which is situated at the foot of Govardhan Hill. She went there and with her bangle carved out what is now a big pond and cried.
Radical.
Yeah, cried Radhakund into it. Can we imagine?
Her bangle. Wow.
Cut it out with her bangle and then cried and filled it up with her tears.
Oh, wow.
That's how sacred that is. For her separation from Krishna when he went to the battle of Kurukshetra. See, that's love. This is the love. This is the one whose love we're being given the understanding to follow in the mood of. And that's the love of Vrindavan. That all the Brijvasis hold like that as well. Separated from Krishna, the whole earth felt separation from Krishna. In the Shastra it is said that of all types of fruitive workers, he who is advanced in knowledge of the higher values of life is favored by the Supreme Lord Hari. Out of many such people who are advanced in knowledge, jnanis, one who is practically liberated by virtue of his knowledge may take to devotional service. He is superior to the others. However, one who has actually attained prema, pure love of Krishna, is superior to him. The gopis are exalted above all the advanced devotees because they are always totally dependent upon Sri Krishna, the transcendental cowherd boy. Among the gopis, Srimati Radharani is the most dear to Krishna. Her kund leg is as profoundly dear to Lord Krishna as this most beloved of the gopis, who then will not reside at Radhakund, and in a spiritual body surcharged with ecstatic devotional feelings, Uprakrita Bhava, render loving service to the divine couple, Sri Sri Radha Govinda, who performs their Astaka Leela, their eternal eightfold daily pastimes. Indeed, those who execute devotional service on the banks of Radhakund are the most fortunate people in the universe.
What number is that?
This is 9.
9?
Oh, sorry. Yeah, no, 10. Sorry, that's 10. And then we are getting to see, as you can see, as with most Vedic literatures, they are written in such a way that they progress at a basic level, and then as they progress, they get deeper and deeper and deeper. As Krishna is saying, these are more dear to me than those, and these are dearer than those. This is text 11. Of the many objects of favorite delight, and of all the favorable damsels of Brajabhumi, Srimati Radharani is certainly the most treasured object of Krishna's love. And in every respect, her divine kund is described by great sages as similarly dear to him. Undoubtedly, Radhakund is very rarely attained, even by the great sage devotees. Therefore, it is even more difficult for ordinary devotees to attain. If one simply bathes once within those holy waters, one's pure love of Krishna is fully aroused. I went to Radhakund in 1988.
Did you take bath?
What's that?
You had it sunshine.
I wanted to so much. They were cleaning it out.
Okay.
And and they had a pipe about this big around, like that, pumping the water from Radhakund up into the streets of the city. So, you honor, it's the same as bathing. But see how rare it is. Even I got to go and still I couldn't bathe. And this is what it's saying. Just to be able to bathe is such a rare, rare, rare opportunity. If one simply bathes once within those holy waters, one's pure love of Krishna is fully aroused. Right around that time, I also got darshan from the, see this Samadhi tomb right here? Yeah, I went there.
That's Rupa Goswami's
Yeah,
Samadhi?
yeah. And in that courtyard, you might call them, there are trees growing. Jagat-guru. I went there with Jagat-guru.
Neem trees?
No. There are, how do they call them? Kalpavriksha trees. Kalpavriksha tree means they can give you anything you ask for. And he said there's one right there. It is right at basically the foot. If Rupa Goswami is laying, his feet are pointing at that tree. It's basically facing that tree. So he gets whatever he wants every day. He gets whatever he wants every day. His body is facing that tree. So, but I asked Krishna to free me from sex life. That tree. So, wasn't much longer after that. 88, about 4 years, I got married. If anything will free you from sex life, that'll do it.
Marriage.
Yeah. It can bind you up, or it can set you free. But I had the opportunity to be able to experience firsthand the effects of getting married for the wrong reasons. So, it's good to get married for the right reasons. In Vedic culture, we see by evidence by both Krishna, Balaram, Lord Chaitanya, Lord Nityananda, they take wives. They took wives. Lord Ramachandra took a wife. Even though Lord Ramachandra went into separation, Sita's love. Here is shown, you see that love Sita had, she's in the palace. She's a queen. That same love for Ram drove her to go with Ram to the forest, to lose everything, to leave everything behind. For 12 years they were put in the forest, And so, this is Srimati Radharani's love shown at a different age, but a more intimate form of Krishna, the most personal form of Krishna, in a form playing his flute that he told Arjuna to remember him as, because that's the same form that he is in the spiritual realm, that he himself is saying is the best place of all. So what we have to do is continually, as we think of Krishna, think of him in that form playing his flute. And we look at the form that Srila Prabhupada has asked him to come in. This is Radhika and Jamitai. So what great privilege we have every day. Take full advantage, come, take the darshan of Krishna himself, the Supreme Person. Get to read of things he said, knowledge that gives total satisfaction to the soul, that concentrates its energy on that it is itself made of. This is what we are being reminded, that we are ourselves made of the scriptures, because we were breathed out of Krishna's mouth into Brahma's ear. And that is the same substance that Krishna spoke the Vedas into. Same way he spoke us into the ear of Brahma. And Brahma spoke the Vedas out of his mouth. So we were there in a pure form. We fall by desire, by false ego. And there's the entrapment test that we go through. It can be regularly too on a day if we don't pass the test. Thinking ourselves superior to others, putting ourselves in a place to exert our arrogance and pride about how much we have accomplished. And this is all representations of the false ego. And because there is no common school that everyone is in to reach a certain age of employment, this false ego should be broken before employment, in my opinion. I don't know. This would do away with all these fights we get. You see people, they go to a restaurant, they don't get their way, they'll throw coffee in a server's face, they'll throw coffee in it.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, they do that.
How mean and ignorant.
It is. As devotees, we recognize that. But that is describing the nature of this age. People take offense. Krishna is trying to do everything he can to keep us from being accountable for our offenses. And people are taking offense just the opposite way Krishna is feeling towards humanity. People of the human race are feeling towards one another. You offend me. You said this about me. You said that thing. And of course, most of the things that are being said are lies anyways, and worth being rejected about, which is evident to the whole war thing going on. Both sides are engaging in activities that ultimately humankind shouldn't have to be engaging in. This fortunate situation of human being we've been brought to, and yet so many of us, rightly so, I conclude that something has to be done to stop the forces of evil that exist within this world. Right has to be stronger than wrong, or left to itself, the human beings will destroy themselves.
Right.
Isn't it? We see so much cooperation within each species to be able to, by the thousands, work together and make their adventures together without argument of each other. They just fully cooperate. Yet human beings, they're not satisfied with things being exactly the way they want it. They will object and refuse to take part in the activities that would be deemed as necessary part of the responsibility. So, the distraction going on. I think class about over. It's 5 to 9. So, anybody got any questions, comments, realization? Grantharaj Shrimadbhagavatam, ki jai, Srila Prabhupada, ki jai.
The Queen